the plant board meeting of June 4th to order. As we have a full board, we do not need to designate an alternate tonight. Henceforth, we are going to assign alternates when necessary, starting with starting with Jim Crowley would be first week, Tom Cashin would be second week, and vice versa as we go on.
Can you
If
fit
there
them
is
down around?
a person who has not been on the board long enough to know a particular application in front of us, we will ask them to
Is that better?
places with the other alternate if necessary. But we all need to know what's going on at all times. I'd like to start with the approval of the minutes of May 12th. They were all in your packets. Have you all had a chance to read them?
Yes. Joyce, can I just ask a question though? Did you say
Absolutely.
we don't need an alternate tonight?
No,
Because I'm missing Gavin.
but we have 1, 2, 3. Oh, where's Gavin? Gavin's not coming. 4. There are 4 of us. So tonight we would have, thank you very much, Yoli. I thought Gavin was going to be here.
I'll make a motion to,
We don't need a motion for this, okay? Jim, you will be voting tonight?
Hey,
The alternate, okay? You can hear us well?
yes, I can.
Okay, very good. And again, thank you, Yoli. So, these are the minutes. If you've had a chance to read them,
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for March 12th, 2020 as written.
okay?
second,
We have a motion by Leslie Berlin to accept the meeting of March 12th as written. Do I hear a second?
Second,
This already did.
Okay, hang on, one at a time. You have to raise your hand if you want to speak. Dennis, your hand's up.
second.
We have a second. Is there any discussion? Dennis?
On the old business, Joyce, we had a scheduled meeting for Soltage, a site walk.
you cut the volume, everything.
And if you remember, in the selectmen
Wow.
that day.
We had, okay, I'm sorry, Dennis.
A little lower.
Let's get Jim settled on his hearing, okay?
All set, thank you.
Thank you.
These
Okay,
are the
Dennis, back to
volume
you.
buttons.
We under old business, we had a site walk scheduled for March 16th in Soltage.
Okay. There should have been in your packet, what we have on that were my notes from that meeting. We had a list of the people who attended. Some people would not sign on. Our site walk was attended by 2 of the surveyors.
Are you talking about?
Not Soltage, not Soltage. We're not Soltage. We had the,
Grammy Rose?
the Grammy Rose site walk.
Right.
Is that the one you're talking about?
No, Joyce, I was talking about Soltage. We had that scheduled for that following Monday.
Yeah, but that was canceled due to the COVID-19, and there is no new information at this particular moment.
No, I agree with that, but in the minutes, we set that meeting date. It should be in the minutes.
The meeting was set for March 15th, that Monday.
Right.
All right, we'll let the minutes reflect that. Leslie?
Yeah, we would have had to have set that site walk earlier because we wouldn't have met the
The 10
requirements
days.
for notification.
Right.
So that couldn't have been set on March 12th to meet on the 15th.
We have to look back in the minutes. I'm looking at the minutes from February.
We
don't
set
see-
March 5th, we set that.
March 5th, we set the date?
Yeah, when we met with them then.
Okay, thank you, Yoli. All right, so what we will have to do, Brenda, are you listening? Yes? I saw you somewhere. Brenda, a note has to be made that the, just so it's in the, actually, I believe these minutes are correct as they stand, unless you really want to see that date put in there. I don't think it's necessary. What do you think? Anyone? Dennis?
I don't think it's,
I think it is necessary because, excuse me, we've put stuff off for quite a while. And we really don't know what legal issues are going to come up down the road. So I think it should be documented that the planning board had scheduled that meeting for the 16th. Because Saturday was the 14th, so Monday would be the 16th. And I think for the best interest of the planning board, to have that documentation.
We can, if it wasn't discussed at the meeting, it doesn't really belong in the minutes.
We set the date. Though,
If you'd
Joy.
like to make a note, because it was done on March 5th. We were noted on March, correct, Yoli? March 5th? It was
Yes,
posted.
yeah, it's in the minutes of March 5th that we scheduled that site walk for the 16th.
Sidewalk. Okay,
But I see what Dennis is saying because
I do too,
under old business, we have the other site walk listed there for Grammy Rose. I mean, just
which we did.
Right, but it's saying that it's coming up. So, I mean, just in terms of being consistent.
Yeah, well, minutes are reporting what takes place at the meeting. It didn't, but I would definitely make a note. Brenda, if you could just make a note from the chairman that the site walk on Monday, the 16th of March at Soltage LLC
At 4 o'clock?
at whatever time it was, because I don't have the March 5th ones in my face, okay, was postponed due to COVID. Do we think we're covered there?
I'm fine with it, Joyce.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any other discussion on these minutes? I appreciate all of you looking at this. It is very difficult to go back 3 months and have clear memory and go forward. I thank you very much. Freedom of information, query from the chair. As you all know, we have been, we being the land use office and the town have been getting multiple requests under Freedom of Information from Mr. Crespi as head of the, I'll get this name right, of GILEA, the Great East Lake Association. Mr. Crespi has sent the following, and I'm going to read it to you because from you, I'll ask you questions afterwards, and I need your verbal answers. From Mr. Crespi, I request that the town of Acton produce any and all documents and correspondence concerning the town's proposed amendments to section 5.11, good neighbor and design standards for proposed development, and 5.16, piers, docks, and other shoreland construction of the town zoning ordinance. This request includes any documents relating in any way to the above amendments that were presented to or considered at any meeting of any town body, including specifically the planning board. Were these amendments were considered, and 2, any documents that any consultant working for the town or any member of the public provided to assist the town in developing the proposed amendments to section 5.11, good neighbor standard, and 5.16, piers, docks, and other shoreline construction. Additionally, I request that the town produce all documents, including correspondence, emails, text messages, and other written communication between town officials, including, but not limited to, members of the select board, members of the planning board, the code enforcement officer, and other town officials relating to the proposed amendment to section 5.1, good neighbor standard, and section 5.16, piers, docks, and other shoreland construction. 2, between town officials and member of the public, including any correspondence between town officials and any consultant the town worked with regarding proposed amendments to section 1.5, etc., and section 1.6. And 3, any written correspondence concerning the proposed amendments to section 1.5, good neighbor, etc., and section 1.6, piers and docks, in relation to any currently or previously pending application by Martell Estates on the lakes before the town planning board. Now, any and everything that we do in front of a camera. We are recorded. Our meetings are recorded. Our workshops are recorded. We have minutes for everything we do. Our workshops are a place where we do not vote on anything. We make no decisions. We gather information that's presented at a regular meeting. Everything we do is in front of the public. Now, anything that he wants that maybe in the land use office, whether it be maps or plans and that, fine. But I'm going to ask each one of you. Leslie, I'll start with Leslie because first picture I see. Leslie, do you have any correspondence, be it emails, text messages, letters pertaining to what has been asked for?
No.
Thank you. Yoli, I see you next.
No,
Have you any?
no,
Need verbal.
no.
Dennis.
No.
Okay. We'll give Jim Crowley.
No, I don't have any.
Okay. Tom Cashin.
No.
So I think we are very safe in saying our work product is produced in the public eye. And anything anybody wants to know is right there for them to see. We do not have things, we do not correspond amongst each other otherwise. Thank you all for that. We shall go on.
Joyce, just a point of order?
Yeah.
I don't think we actually voted on the minutes. We had the motions on the floor.
You know, I'm so glad you're here, Yoli, because you'll help me get back into the swing of this thing, I'll tell you. You have a bit more experience with these meetings this way than I do, for sure, I think. A point of order, let's go back to the minutes with the addition of the note. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Aye.
I don't think I was there.
Dennis?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I wish Brenda was on. Okay, we're all in favor anyway, fine. Let's proceed on to old business. Whoever's on right now? Yes,
did you also want to do the May 21 minute?
I have not received a copy of those yet. I don't have them. I will ask for a motion to table the March 21st minutes until our next meeting. Dennis?
I will make a motion to table the March 21st till our next meeting minutes.
Can I have a second?
Second?
Yeah, the May 21st,
I think
What did I say?
the March.
I meant May, I apologize.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Verbals?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this is a friendly reminder, you need to call out their names for their votes. You have to do a roll call vote.
Yes, I just said I need all verbals from everybody. Leslie,
Yeah, aye.
tabling the motion,
Yes, aye.
postpone the reading. Yoli,
Aye.
Dennis,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Okay, it is unanimous. We will postpone until next week. I'm sorry that I don't have them in my packet, guys. Now we'll try to go smoother. Old business. Jennifer or Dan, could we bring Bridget live, please, with volume?
Yes, just a second. So Bridget and Chris. Bridget, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Chris, can you hear me?
Yep.
There you go, Joyce.
Thank you. Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hope all is well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got your paperwork from Maine Department of Transportation. You want to fill us in and let us know what you have going here?
Sure. I went upon to go to DOT to get a permit for my drive, since that was like one of the big issues with the safety reason backing out of the driveway. I was also told by the state to also put it in, as well as you guys, in my handbook, which I did that. I got the permit for the driveway, state approval. So that's basically it.
Okay.
Permit of that.
Okay. Yes, Ken.
So her permit with DOT allows 50 vehicle trips per day, or each customer's, and dropping one kid off would be 4 trips per day, in, out, and pick up, back and forth.
Ken, I'm going to ask you to kind of sit without moving because you're going in and out and breaking up.
Yep.
Thank you.
And then it's requiring an 8 by 15 area to turn around, and then no backing out of that. At the same time, we're expanding the use from 4 kids at one time to 8, no employees. Hours of operation, 6:30 to 6 p.m., 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. So this would amend the existing conditional use they were working on and hadn't opened up yet. So we're just modifying that existing one to work off the DOT permit and then expand the use from 4 kids to 8.
To 8 kids. When you had originally come to us, a couple of the things we had asked you about were fencing, so you're doing that according to the state rules on that, I take it?
Yeah, the state was here and she agreed with the fence that it was fine.
Good, good. And one of the other things that we had talked about, you were going to drop off a copy of your license.
I can only get the license after the town signs off.
After this meeting? Okay, fine. No problem with that at all. No problem at all. So basically, you're going to be working under the DOT license permit because you're working as a small business now. Is that right?
Correct.
Good, good, very good. And the driveway is taken care of?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Ken?
I'm showing Chris is still mute. Okay, he's off mute now. I just didn't know if he was trying to say anything.
Yeah, and I think if I can interrupt, I think we're unmuting people on our end. I think they're muting themselves if they're not
Yeah.
talking because I can only unmute them so many times.
Right, I think I saw Bridget actually push a button to unmute herself
Okay.
on her computer. No, I do that all the time.
Oh,
I don't know how this thing works, so.
Well, welcome to the age of COVID, right? All this new stuff, new technology. Don't worry about it. We all do the best we can and be kind to each other. So, you all have in your packets copies of, you can kind of see it here, that Maine Department of Transportation, and it says everything that Bridget just told us. Anyone have any questions? Yes, Dennis.
You had your daycare this year with 4 kids, Bridget. You didn't have any problems this year with turning around stuff in your driveway?
I didn't have 4. I only had the 2 that I was allowed to have because I can only have 2 through the state unless it's approved altogether for a license.
Oh, okay. And I see the permit for the driveway is for Chris and not your business.
Jack, Chris is the property owner.
So the business isn't getting the permit, the property owner is.
Yeah, that works on our end.
I don't remember under the conditional use asking for a permit for the driveway.
No, this is going to be in lieu of the radar sign. We talked about the radar sign not being approved by the state as an option for them. And once we talked to the state wanted her to get the driveway permit, which is the avenue we probably should have right at the beginning. So this is going to allow the 50 trips per day. And she'll have the conditions of the DOT permit that she'll have to abide by as far as action.
And having met the conditions under the finding of facts that we approved way back, I think it was 6/20 of 19. Almost been a year. And those
I've
can,
got,
the I show, which is not a big deal, but I do show that the time we had anyway, in the paper I'm looking at, it's 6:30 to 5:30, and now you're 6:30 to 6. Is that right?
Well, 5:30 we close, but I was just saying the 6 because God forbid some parent was late, but we could do the 5:30, but it's
No.
some parents are-
It's not a problem. Not a problem. I just want to make sure we have it correctly. You know.
Yeah, I close at 5:30, but just because of give that leadway, so I didn't want, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I understand that. No, that's not a problem. Does anyone else have any questions? Yes, Tom. Oh, sorry, no. Dennis.
yeah,
Oh, I know. I saw your hand go up. Dennis.
I see no reason not to accept this. But I have to say, the browbeating that the planning board has got over this, that's been perpetuated out there over this daycare when we went along basically with everything they wanted to do. I think it's kind of appalling, what's happened to the people on the planning board over this.
Well, we can't control what people say or think, and it's time to move forward.
I appreciate that, Madam Chair.
And we wish you well with your business. Bridget, you blocked yourself again? You muted yourself? Haha. So you can hear me, right?
I'll make a motion, Madam Chair,
Okay, I'll take a motion, Dennis.
to approve the application to modify an existing conditional use for Busy Bee Daycare.
Okay, Leslie?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion, further discussion? Yes?
We're just clarifying that's going to increase for the 8 children, no employees, 50 trips a day per the DLT permit, 6:30 a.m., 6 o'clock p.m.
Correct.
Yes, I would like that in my motion. I apologize.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Further discussion? Okay, let's take a vote. Dennis?
Yes,
Yoli?
Yes.
Leslie?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
The chair concurs, yes. Unanimously. Congratulations, and I do wish you well in your business. You are needed here in town. So give a call, please, to the office. You know, you can go in and take care of getting that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Bridget. You're welcome. Take it easy. Have
You
fun.
too.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. We'll just let those go off, right? And Brad, hello.
Hi, how you doing, everybody?
Good. Next to old business, Buzzell Road lot line adjustment. Arnie Martell, Buzzell Road. If you all recall, this goes back to the Buzzell Road subdivision, 7 houses, and I'm pretty much going to let Brad take the lead on this, but when this happened, we had what to do with the easement. That was the question. Mr. Martell deeded the easement to the town. We haven't had a town meeting. It was never accepted, but it was recorded. So we have to now go back and write that and do it properly. So you have maps in your packets? If you have them? Okay. Brad, you want to do a little discussion on this, please?
Sure. So back in 2018, when we brought the Buzzell Road subdivision, which is 7 lots, they're all frontage lots, and they're 2-acre lots. And during our survey, we found that the right-of-way wasn't 50 feet. It doesn't have to be 50 feet, but it was not 50 feet. So we had taken a strip of land and designated that to be given back to the town, and the town would take that over. And I guess what happened, we didn't get involved with the selectmen's meetings or anything, but it didn't actually get voted in, and I believe it has to get voted in at a town meeting. So,
Correct.
so where that didn't happen, basically there's a 15-foot strip. It varies a little bit, but it runs in front of all 7 lots, and there's it's kind of like no man's land at this point. So we really, as these lots get developed and the houses are built, we really have to clean that up so that there's a proper access and they have proper frontage on the road. So so we did come in and submit a plan, and this plan would get recorded. And that way, when anyone goes back and looks, so they can find it. Basically, what we did, we just put that right of way back to where it was, and it doesn't mean anything. The road doesn't get affected. The town has obviously the right of way of the road, and you know, even if the line was in the middle of the road, it would still not affect any of that. So as we did that, we're a little shy on frontage, so we did have to do a lot line adjustment on the 50-acre piece owned by Shandanette, and that's map 211, lot 1. And so all we needed was 123 square feet to complete our frontage for that 7th lot. So we did make that adjustment, and that's shown. So that's why you see the map and the boundary. We did do a full boundary on the 50-acre piece to come up with that information. So yeah, so at this point, we will do a corrective deed because it was recorded in the registry as in a deed form, but not approved by the town. So, so hopefully that kind of goes through everything, and you know, so that's where we're at.
Okay. And you will be speaking with the Board of Selectmen on that, I believe.
I thought it would just be a planning board thing, but we'd be happy to do that if we need to. Yeah.
All right, let's check with Ken on that. Does this have to go before the board, Ken?
That's what Jim was thinking, Brad, that where that deed got recorded, they'll have to do a sign off on that. And I got recorded by mistake. It wasn't supposed to be recorded until the selectmen took it and brought it to town meeting and got it approved. So the corrective deed would need to be issued. We do have letter of authorizations from the people that own the houses as well, the current lots that were sold. They're well aware of it, and they're willing, if the town ever needs it, that they can have it back.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go to ladies first. Leslie?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that we had said we didn't want the land deeded when we approved this subdivision, that we wanted the easement. I know that I spoke about the easements being necessary, and I think Dennis did also. I think Dennis can probably correct me if I'm wrong on that. But this was never supposed to even go forward.
Correct. We're going back to what you and Dennis had talked about and hoped for at the beginning anyways.
I just wanted to make that clarification that, you know, that the planning board never approved deeding that over. Anyway,
Dennis?
Brad, this new deed you're gonna put out was gonna be an easement?
Yeah, I mean, the attorneys will do that, and that's what happened before. The attorney had sent that in. We didn't realize it had got recorded. But yes, we will do a corrective deed, and then get that, in front of the selectmen. It sounds like is the way we want to do it. Is that correct?
Right, just an easement, and that'll be done with it.
All right.
Thank you, Brad.
Yep, sure.
That's it for me.
As of now, the steps would be, Ken, you can help on this, please.
Let's just double check with Ben on that to see if he has any concerns or issues. It was kind of quickly put into his packet, so I think he's had time to look at it.
Yeah, Ben, how about it?
Yes, yep, Ben Smith from North Star Planning. I did review the packet, and this application is really almost like a corrective kind of situation. I think someone had noted earlier. It's fairly administrative. There's nothing that's going to change on the ground. I did verify, and I wanted to make sure that the other parties, the people who own frontage on Buzzell Road, signed off on the authorization as well. And I understand that made it into your packets. As far as the process goes, I think the board should make a decision tonight on whether or not this subdivision amendment requires a public hearing or not. I think given that so many of the people impacted by this are required to sign off on it anyway, the board could reasonably make a decision not to hold a public hearing, but that's part of the process, as I understand it, that even for an amendment, the board should make a decision one way or the other for the record. And finally, when it comes to select board action, the deed, as I understand it, was inadvertently recorded. The select board could very well have a discussion on whether or not they wanted to take that. But that's really kind of beyond the scope of the discussion, I think, for this evening. Is really whatever happens next is going to be between the applicant and the select board. But what's in front of the planning board right now is how to handle the adjustment on the plan. And just one final thing, what the plan seems to show is simply changing the ownership of the land. And there's nothing on here that describes that the ownership would be changing to private ownership with some kind of easement. I understand from the code officer that people are amenable to those kinds of situations, but I don't see anything, and maybe the applicant could clarify, I don't see any easements, formal easements. It would just kind of revert back to the way it was.
Yeah, that is correct. It would go back to the old right-of-way that existed when we started the project.
Since we have the authorizations, the approval from the owners of the property that's sold, and they are in favor of this, I think we need to keep that in mind, and I'd like to hear what the board has to say. If they feel it's necessary to go any further than this by having a public hearing, I'm not being taking this at all lightly, but I do believe we're simply correcting a mistake that went through, especially when Dennis and Leslie, you had voiced your strong opinions, but it fell through the cracks, and it did get, recorded. We are trying to correct that. So I need to know how you feel. We are correcting a mistake here. Dennis.
I see no reason for a public hearing.
Yoli.
I don't either. I think it's okay to waive that.
Leslie?
I don't think there's a public hearing is necessary.
Jim?
How would you handle a public meeting if we decided to have one? And what would be the estimated time that we'd have to keep Mr. Martell tied up in this?
Ken?
We'd be, at this point, we'd be doing a Zoom meeting just like we are. And the host would have to be bringing people in as they raise their hand. We are going to have some public hearings coming up, and as it states now, that's how we'll be doing it.
But to have this one, a public hearing for this probably could not happen until, I'm giving you a roundabout date. It would pulling up my calendar here. It looks like it couldn't be before the 25th of the month. So that's quite a ways off. So yeah, go ahead, Jim, finish.
I wouldn't have any problem with just correcting the problem in-house. I don't think we'd have to go through the whole process just to correct a mistake that has come up.
Okay, thank you. Tom, have you any?
No thoughts on this.
No thought. Thank you, Tom. So I take it by asking the board that we are in agreement. We do not see the need of a public hearing since we are correcting virtually a paper mistake. Things aren't going to change. Ownership isn't changing. Right-of-ways aren't changing. We're just correcting this mistake. Am I correct in that, Brad?
Yes, everything would go back to the right-of-way the way it was before we started the project.
Before we started. Okay, very good. All right. Do you want to take a vote on this? Dennis?
You want to take a vote on the public hearing, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna vote no.
Okay. Yoli? Yes, Ken?
Was there a motion? Is there a motion and a seconded for no public hearing?
No, well, I asked for one.
I apologize.
Okay, go ahead.
I make a motion, we do not have a public hearing for Buzzer Road lot line adjustment.
A second, please.
Second.
By Leslie. Okay. Take a vote over, Yoli?
So that would be in the
Motion
affirmative?
is to not have a public hearing.
Okay, yes, no, not have one.
Got you. Got you. Did you have your hand up, Ben?
Just adjusting my glasses.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jim?
No on a public hearing?
Tom?
I no on a public hearing.
Thank you. And Dennis?
No.
Chair is no. Thank you.
Timothy.
Sorry? Oh, Leslie. Leslie.
Yeah. I say no on a public hearing.
Thank you very much. It's a unanimous vote. You know, before we go any further on this, and Brad, while you're here, I will very quickly say I find these meetings to be difficult. And I probably don't come across as absolutely, smooth and easy as I'd like it to be. So I thank you all for your patience and your work doing this, as well as the people who are sitting in our audience. Leslie.
I have a quick question for Brad. And going through this packet, page 2, A2, what is the purpose of this map? What is this actually showing us?
So In order to get the frontage on lot 7,
Mm-hmm.
we needed to take 123 square feet of
Okay.
property from this 50-acre piece. So this is a full boundary of that 50-acre piece owned by Chandonnet,
Oh, by Dennis, okay.
by Dennis. And then if you see, there's a real good blow up on A1 that shows a little tiny triangle, and all that does is that gives us 250 feet of frontage.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure why all of these other properties were there. So that's all I wanted to know.
That's the case.
Why? Okay. That makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Are we all happy? We'll move forward, Brad. And Ken, you and Brad will work out the what you're going for. Ken, yeah.
So that was your motion not to have a public hearing, now a
Yes,
motion
it was.
to approve the plan
Right.
as submitted. And I
Yes.
think you had input from both alternates. Just watch out that, I don't know who you designated, but. just
Our
watch out on the
our designated is Jim, and I erroneously asked Tom. He's not an alternate tonight, and I apologize.
vote. But it's great to get his input.
Yes. You can't look at someone with his years of experience on this board and not get his input for sure. Dennis,
I'll make a motion to approve the lot line adjustment for Buzzell Road, for the Martell Estates on Buzzell Road.
I'll second that.
any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. We're going by pictures now. Leslie,
Yeah, yes.
Yoli,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
The chair votes in the affirmative. So we, Brad, you should be fine with that. You work with Ken to get things going.
Yes, we'll get that corrective deed and get that in front of the selectmen and close the loop on this and.
All right. And we will be seeing you in another week or two on other.
Yes, yeah, we have that submission in for the subdivision, and we would like to get back in. And I
Right.
assume it'll be the same process at this point. You'd be doing the Zoom meeting, is that correct?
Oh, well, at this time, in the land of COVID, that is exactly what's going to happen.
Okay.
We can all cross our fingers that, you know, maybe we can get back to regular meetings. They're, you know, I believe they're easier on everybody. So, thank you very much.
Well, thank you for your time. Yep.
You're very welcome. Okay, business. There is on Soltage LLC, 604 H Road, no action to be taken tonight. Grammy Rose LLC, Route 109, no action to be taken tonight. York County Agricultural Association, 13th Street, no action tonight. Which brings
Joyce, can you just update the Soltage one, because I still got two members on there. Jim and Jim are both from Soltage. So if we could just update them that on the 11th, they're gonna show us a video for our site walk. They did a drone video, so we'll watch that on the 11th. And then
Thank you for that news. Thank you for that news.
and we'll do the public hearing on the 18th. Dan, if you could bring Jim and Jim up and unmute them, just in case they have some important thing they need to tell us.
I got it. Hold on. I'm still overseeing it. Which two, Ken?
Jim and Jim.
All right. All right, they should be free.
Hi, yeah, this is Jim Moran. We also have Brett. He's with the Wellness Corrections. He's waving with the beard. He's also with myself. So we appreciate this time with the board. Thank you, Ken, for the recognition. You know, Brett did submit a drone video for the site walk, which Ken acknowledged, so thank you. And we look forward to moving forward with this project and following it with a public hearing on the 18th. So appreciate that.
Joyce, we'll have to figure out if we want to play the video at the next meeting, or we'll just give everybody the YouTube link. We'll put it on the agenda and you can watch the YouTube prior to the meeting. We'll see how you want to work that out. We'll figure that out beginning of next week.
Yeah.
We're happy to walk you through it too on the 11th, and it's a 6-minute video that covers the whole property and the access point. It starts from the main road and then follows the access road through the easement to the property, and it's only about 6 minutes long, and we're happy to walk you through it if you want. It's up to you guys.
I think since a site walk is a public meeting, we should probably put a link to it, and that way, for anybody else who wants to see it, they can,
Molly, will you let her out, please?
you know,
I think,
join in.
It's all right.
hopefully we can play it on the 11th, and we'll just all make sure we have that capability to play it on a Zoom and we all see it or something. We'll just touch base with Jennifer and Dan and figure it out.
Yeah.
George,
Jim.
this is Dan. I do have the capability to play that video. I just need the link ahead of time for it.
Thank you, Dan.
You're very welcome.
I ask, has Ken, has the board seen the video? Has anybody on the planning board viewed the video in advance?
No. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if that is an option to, you know, preview it prior to the 11th, just as a preliminary.
Well, and the other thing is we want it available for the public to show it as a public site walk, just in case there's anybody that does not want the project or is opposition. We won't have any problems if everybody's for it, but if you got somebody in opposition, we at least played it as an announcement of it, so that'll be good. And then that should set us up for the public hearing on the 18th
Okay.
of August.
Anyone have any questions for the gentleman? I guess not, so we look forward to seeing you on the 11th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
And then,
Thank you.
And then the 18th of June.
And then the 18th.
And then the 18th. Very good.
And then the 18th.
Thank you.
Thank you both very much. Thank you, Dan, for helping us with the thing coming up. Okay.
And then Joyce, just in case, I don't know if we've got any Grammy Rose people out there or not, but we'll have them on the agenda for the 11th just to go over their site walk and move forward with that. We can review the site walk, see how the application is, and get ready to move forward with that one and set up a public hearing for that.
Okay, very good. I will make sure that my notes from that site walk are in your packets next week. And thank you all, by the way, for coming in and picking those up and getting them taken care of. It's helpful. Okay, York County Agricultural Association, Ken, no action.
No action on that. They were focused on the fair, and now that the fair's been canceled, we'll get them back interested in moving forward, and we can get that project out if they've got their stormwater stuff all ready for us.
Okay, very good. On to new business. Can we, Dan, can we have Mr. Mahoney please join us? Timothy Mahoney.
Yes, how are you tonight?
So how are you tonight?
Not too bad.
Good, good.
Thanks
So
for having me.
this is for subdivision modification on 422 Buzzell Road, map 211 lot 010. You have maps in your packets today. Mr. Mahoney, would you like to tell us a little bit about what you're proposing here?
I'm proposing on subdividing 2 acres It ends up with the design of a road brought in to accumulate the 250 feet that I need to sell the property with. I've already designed a road. I had it engineered. You guys have that. And I'm just waiting to get a go-ahead from you to tell my surveyor to set the pins.
And you've been out there, yes? You want to fill us in?
Yep, this is on Buzzell Road, right in the area where it goes into Lakeside Drive. And it's the, I think Hickory Ridge subdivision was the original name. So it's a redivision of a subdivision. And we take off, when that happens, it starts with final plan is where we start with this. So I'll meet up with Mr. Mahoney next week and just touch base on getting the full plans. Where it's just a single homeowner trying to break off one lot. We didn't want to go through the expense of big, huge plans and everything if there were changes that needed to be made. So if the planning board's okay with what we've got, we'll start moving forward with final plan and take a look at this. I do have a stormwater analysis as well, probably 40, 50 pages of that. I did not send this to Ben, where it was just a single lot in a subdivision of a re-subdivision of a subdivision. If you guys think I need to, then I can do that next week as well, too. So the next step, if you guys were moving forward with this, would be notifying abutters and then public hearing and moving forward on that.
Okay. I'm just going to mix things up, guys, okay? Yoli?
Actually, I'm just a little bit confused. It's hard without having our map and the pointer, but so Grady Lane here, the road that's being made, right? Okay.
Yep.
So then this lot, it's hard to tell like what the mother lot is or like it's the whole, so is this, let's see, backwards here. So is this the lot that's being created?
Yes.
Okay, so what is the full lot or the outer boundary of the entire parcel?
Tim, how many acres is your parcel currently?
I have 27.9 acres, which I access through the right-of-way in the back of the property, not off of Buzzell Road. And I'm just cutting off 2 acres down on Buzzell Road, but I'm keeping 250 feet with the remaining 25 point some odd acres.
He's creating the road for road frontage because he has to leave the remaining 250 feet with the back lot.
So we would be talking about, if I can do this, he's creating this L-shaped lot, is that correct?
Yes. Well, that's just the road into.
Yeah, that's the road into it, but that's basically.
That acquires the road frontage to sell the 2 acres.
Leslie, you had a question.
I did. I'm having trouble placing exactly where this is. You know, on the map here on the location, it's got the little box. It's got a big circle. How close to the water is this?
You're asking me?
Yes. Yeah. Whoever can answer that.
It's within sight, but it's several hundred yards easily.
So it's out of shoreline?
But it's not in shoreline.
Okay, okay.
In the 19th inning. Is that your beer? No, we're in the 19th inning.
Yes. Yes, Dennis.
Ken, how old's Hickory Rib subdivision.
The Vern Hertel property,
A lot like this fisher.
in the early 90s.
I mean, that's what I'm saying.
This is mission control.
Oh, yeah.
Tom Cashin and Tom Gore.
I
Attention.
I'm getting there.
We just,
So the 250 feet, well, it'd be 300 feet of road frontage is what you're gonna have.
Correct.
Okay.
1997.
I'm sorry, Ken.
1997.
All right. Thank you, Ken. I've got no issue.
It's approximately 1,500 feet from where Buzzell breaks off from Langley at that Y. It'll be about 1,500 feet continuing down Buzzell. From the lake, about 700 feet from the water's edge
Thank you, Ken.
to the beginning of the new road.
700 feet to the, to Grady Lane?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, down to the bottom of the hill to Grady's Lake.
Okay.
Is the board gonna want me to send this to Ben? Probably 30, 40 pages of stormwater analysis done by CES Engineering.
Dennis.
That's already been approved, hasn't it, Ken? As part of the original subdivision?
Now, the new stormwater, Mr. Mahoney had this done for the road, that
Yeah.
no additional stormwater would be leaving the property from Grady Lane onto Buzzell. And then you know that hill there as you come, if you were to come out of Grady Lane, turn a right, that hill drops down as you go into Lakeside Drive. So
Right.
they were pretty adamant, or everybody was, that no additional stormwater leave the property.
Well, yeah, because that's quite a problem on that hill.
Yes, yeah.
A real serious problem.
All right. Leslie, haven't we seen some work done in that area for water anyway?
AWA did some work down on Lakeside.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how far this property is from there.
I'm not sure either. Hang on, Dennis. Tom Cashin, you have something to add?
just a suggestion, I would go along with the notion that Ken mentioned and have Ben Smith's review on this, whereas we're not really clear as to the stormwater issues. It would be nice to get a second opinion on that.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Mahoney?
If you look on the map there, you'll see where the culvert crosses Buzzell Road.
Yeah.
I believe Friends of Lakeside Drive did some ditch work along the road frontage where I would be putting in Grady Lane, and they had that culvert put in. They had a lot of crushed, not crushed rock. It's good 5-6 inch rock for drainage, as well as that 12-inch culvert.
Yeah.
You can see where that culvert crosses the road on my map.
Right. Dennis?
Mr. Mahoney is right, because I helped Friends of Lakeside Drive do that. But since then, and with a grant, they did quite a bit of work going up the hill and hopefully fixed all the drainage issues. Because that was a serious problem there with it went going down and it washed out Foley Way a couple of times.
And I do know
I've got
Lakeside
no
was
problem having somebody look at it, but I mean, if there's no water going out onto when he's done, there's no water going out onto Buzzell Road. If there is, he has to fix it. And if there isn't, there's no big deal.
I do know that Lakeside Road Association has done quite a bit of work. I mean, they've had their culverts all cleaned out and everything to try to eliminate problems. So I haven't heard too much lately of any water issues down on Lakeside. I'm not sure how far, like I said, exactly where this is between Buzzell and Lakeside.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yeah, so the purpose of designing that road through that engineering company was to prevent any water from this property adding to the problem that's on Buzzell Road, which I travel that road several times when I go out of my driveway and go to the dump, and I have not seen any erosion in the past couple of years, but we haven't had any big, huge floods either, but that road's been really kept up for the past couple of years. They've done a real nice job.
Thank you. Okay. There is quite a bit to see here. It still is, however, a breaking off a subdivision, 2-acre lot, and I do want to know how the board feels about bringing Ben into this. Yes.
Yes, I think in answer to Ken's question, I support passing the report on to Ben for his review.
Okay. Jim?
I would have to agree with that, due to the fact that it's a known problem area, and an extra set of eyes would definitely be worthwhile having somebody else look at it that's very familiar with it, and give a report back to us so that if there's any issues he see, that we can deal with them beforehand.
Okay. Tom, we know that what your suggestion is. Dennis?
I don't think we need to, but whatever the committee wants, I'll work with.
Okay. Ken, you've been out there and we haven't.
Yeah, so the stormwater report was, in worst case scenario, the 25-year storm was 12.76 on the discharge from the property pre-construction, post-construction 11.78. So the analysis is there. They were looking for a couple of waivers on the contour lines where it seems like a flat property, but it does increase up there as you pull in there a little bit. But I think they can control the flow as it's coming down through if it's installed properly.
So you, all right.
Just a macaroni.
If that's the case and the grading isn't that great. Leslie?
I think a sidewalk would probably be more beneficial for us to decide at this point.
Check. We're gonna have to buy a drone. We can have our own drone videos.
You know, if we're having a site walk, frankly, my thoughts were to have a site walk. And I would just put this out there. Governor Mills says 50 people can meet. We're certainly not 50 people. We can all stay away from one another. We can all wear masks. I think because we can't see maps like we're used to seeing, it makes a big difference. And I think a site walk, and if we still are conflicted, we can call Ben in. But again, we are in the land of COVID. So is it possible in a week or so to have a site walk? Ken?
Well, I could probably send everything via email up to Ben, get a report back for next week's meeting. And if the board went out on their own just to take a look at it, we'll make sure Mr. Mahoney has a flag at the driveway location, and we can have this on the agenda for next week. If we schedule a site walk, it's going to be a couple of weeks out once we all agree on the day and the time, and then get it back on the agenda. And then if we do end up with a review, we could be into July at this. Mr. Mahoney started this process last fall, December, we got everything together, and then COVID hit once he was coming in. I mean, it's not by any of his fault of the COVID.
No. I understand where you're going. I understand where you're going with that.
His primary home too. I don't know if it's on the market or he has a sale, but you know, just trying to move this forward.
Dennis?
Any site walks has to be advertised and the public's welcome. So I don't know, can we really do that, like, on our own without the official site walk? We can't bypass the site walk, can we?
So with this is a redivision of a subdivision where we're starting at final plan, which we've gone past, and Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, we've gone past sketch plan, preliminary plan. This is something you can see from your car without getting out of your vehicle on Buzzell Road. He had a logging company in there last fall, and they've done a cut. So you can see everything you need to see without even stepping off the road.
I appreciate that, Ken, but the question is, I guess, the site walk's a public meeting.
Correct.
So if I go up there as a planning board member,
By yourself.
that's still a public meeting, right?
Check by yourself.
Yeah.
I would say you don't have a quorum. It's just you driving around looking at it.
Ben?
Ben's ready.
Yeah. I think that if there's a sense that the board is interested in seeing the site, you know, the best practice would be to schedule a site walk rather than send people out individually, and avoid a scenario where some board members have seen the property from the road frontage and other board members have not. The other point I wanted to raise was in regard to the review of the stormwater plan. I've seen a lot of stormwater plans, and I'm happy to give comment back on that. I am not a professional engineer, so my review would be different than what an engineer would be looking at. I'd be looking at, you know, kind of checking elevations and checking contours and those kinds of things. I'm not going to check the calculations or get into engineering approaches to dealing with stormwater runoff. So I just wanted to make sure that I was representing, you know, that properly so that the board could make an informed decision on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Dennis?
We could schedule a site walk with 7 days notice and have it next Thursday before we start this meeting.
A site walk, 7 day? Where is our daytimer person?
They left.
Could we check with her?
Everyone's left. I'm by myself.
Oh dear, oh dear.
They put me in charge of the lights. That's all I'm in charge of right now.
Oh dear, oh dear. All right. I am going to say my feeling is this. I'm feeling that most members of the board would like to see the property and have a site walk. If in fact we can do a site walk next week, you know, at least it's summer, you know, or springtime. It's it's light until 7:30, 8 o'clock. You know, so if someone's working during the day, we can go in the evening. We could do that. But what we really need to know is it 7 days or 14 days? I believe it's 7 days for a site walk. But that's not my department either. That's always handled by, the front office staff. The girls know that. I don't.
And I think that's what our bylaws are, and then the selectmen had the 10-day rule, which usually involve videotaping and things like that, but we just.
We approached the selectmen on that because it doesn't always work. And we have never had a site walk videotaped. Not anyone, anywhere, anyhow. We take records, we list names, we have some notes, and we have the public with us. But we've never had at least not in my tenure. Dennis.
I believe in that policy, Ken, that it was explained to the selectmen that the 10-day thing didn't work quite often, and it ended up putting us out 2 or 3 weeks having to have that. And
right.
The planning board was exempted in there to a 7-day notice.
Right. Exactly.
To the best of my recollection. I would just like to move this back forward.
I think we have to move it forward. Let's find the best way to do it.
Okay. So why don't we schedule that meeting? That sidewalk, I'm sorry.
So if we're doing 7 days, does today count?
No.
Tomorrow? Tom's got his hand up.
Yes, Tom?
Given that we've learned tonight so far that the design standard was for a 25-year storm, and given that there's no engineering expertise on the members of the board, I would again suggest that we seek either Ben's help or someone maybe who has a better grounding in stormwater management to review this, and it would expedite the necessity of a site visit and yield a better result for the town in the long term. 25 years storm is much too small a standard to set for a level of construction, I think, given the storms that we've seen sometimes in the summer and winter and fall and spring.
Jim.
I agree with Tom mostly, but after listening to Ben speak on if we send it up to him, he's no engineer. I mean, he is, if he can't help us out in that department, I don't see why we would send it up to him.
No,
one at a time, guys.
I was suggesting that we seek out another individual office that Kenny could help us with that would have the expertise for stormwater management review.
Ken, you had your hand up.
We've usually had the engineer of record for the project, especially a small project like this, sign off at the end of the project that it's been constructed as per his design. Ben would just be looking at the zoning conformance, the lots, the subdivision regs, state laws, things like that. And if something jumped out, he's knowledgeable in the stormwater stuff, and not to speak for you, Ben, but he's knowledgeable enough in that stormwater. If something jumped out, he'd say, let's get a consultant in here. I'm just thinking to send it up to him so we can have it on the agenda for next week as well.
How do you feel about that, Ben?
I think that sounds like a fair course of action to me. I didn't want to imply that, a review wouldn't have any value. I just wanted to clarify for the board that I'm not an engineer, but I've looked at hundreds of stormwater plans, and this is not a large or complicated stormwater plan.
No.
So I feel like you should make an informed decision, but I feel comfortable reviewing that, and certainly there's other things I'd be looking at, as Ken had mentioned.
As well. I think, you know, with all due respect and not at all being argumentative, what we look at is 25-year storms. That has sort of been the standard. And even though we may know the storm of the century happens every 5 years now, you know, the standard is still the standard. So I think we need to move forward and send it up to my feeling, send it to Ben, have him give it a once over. We get it back on the agenda next week. I don't want to keep Mr. Mahoney waiting any longer than necessary. I don't want to add, you know, anything to it. So let's go from there. Let's see what the board has to say. You both raise your hands simultaneously, Ken and Dennis. Okay, put 2 hands up.
Tim, is your driveway flagged, that proposed driveway? If not, just throw a ribbon on it, write your name on it, and if anybody from the board does drive by, they'll at least know where we're talking about.
Okay, just throw some flags up, not exactly knowing that it's the exact footage to what the plan says, or should I have my surveyor go out there and put
I'm okay with just a ribbon at the intersection of Buzzell and Grady Lane, just so center line of that, so the board knows. It's really just a simple L-shaped turnaround is all it is.
Correct.
That way there, the board could at least see where it is and know, oh, that's where the driveway is going to be, oh, road.
We'll know the neighborhood that you live in when we go visit Leslie. Okay, Dennis.
Even though Kenny saw this several months ago, this is the first time we've seen it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So what we have to do tonight is 2 things, if I'm correct. One is to accept the subdivision application, and 2 is set the day for the site walk. Is that true?
Go ahead, Ken.
We have to accept the application before we can move forward.
Correct, yeah. Accept the application, and
Exactly.
I think the site walk is optional on this one. Does that sound right, Ben? For redivision of a subdivision?
Right. It's essentially an amended subdivision plan, even though the subdivision being amended is from the 1990s. The scope of the board's review should be limited to the amendment itself. It's not opening up the whole subdivision and getting into standards like any standards that don't apply to the amendment itself.
Right. So does that clear it up for you, Dennis?
Yeah.
All right.
So see if I can get it real clear on a motion.
All right.
I make a motion, we accept the application for a subdivision modification by Tim Mahoney, 422 Buzzell Road, map 211, lot 010.
Do I have a second?
I have it, I'll second that.
Thank you very much, Jim. Further discussion?
And by accept, we mean receive, right?
We're not approving anything.
We're not approving anything. We are accepting this modification, the plan for the modification. We didn't say approve.
Right.
Gosh, the English language is so easy. All right.
Not when I'm using it.
Further discussion. Let's go, folks. Hearing no further discussion, I'm going to ask for a vote. Leslie?
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Yoli,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes.
chair votes in the affirmative. Thank you very much. So we have accepted Dennis's motion. We will, Ken, take care of anything that's there that needs to be forwarded anywhere. Yes, Tom?
Are we still able to forward this with the stormwater concerns in place with Ben? Is
That's just what we're talking about. That's just what we're talking about.
Thank you.
Ken?
Tim, do you have this electronically, the map and the road design and stuff? Do you have that on an email?
I do, but it's at work.
Yeah, that's okay. If you
Not tonight.
then I can get it forwarded to Ben tomorrow over the weekend. Then he'll have a few days to take a look at it. Does that work for your schedule, Ben?
Yeah, if I can get that in the next day or so, we should be able to get something back to you and the board kind of early, mid next week. Not a lot of time before the next meeting, but certainly before the meeting.
Okay. That would work for us. So, Mr. Mahoney, if you could get that to Ken,
Yes.
when you're home, we'll take care of getting it forwarded properly, and we will have it for next week. And we will see you again next week.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
And thank you for your patience on these Zoom meetings.
But do we want to schedule a site walk?
No, not at this time. Not at this time.
Is that that? Okay.
Not at this time.
So I'm gonna get that electronically to Ken, and next Thursday night we'll meet again, talking
Yes.
about this.
Yep. Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. All I have is a couple of best practical locations. So if Ben, you've got something to do and you need to take off, that's great. Otherwise, you're welcome to watch how we relocate people's games.
That was too quick, Ben.
Well, thank you very much. And Ken, we'll be in touch, and we'll plan on getting you guys some materials for next week.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Nice to meet you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Dennis?
Could you excuse me for about 2 minutes?
Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bring that macaroni on.
In your packets, guys, you have a piece of paper that looks like this.
Which one is that?
Cronin,
Cronin's the first one.
West Shore Drive. I think the copy you have probably has a green square and a big green square.
So I didn't send you a bunch of photos and everything. This was a fairly easy site as far as the existing house was 26 from the water. It's going to be a demo rebuild. By rotating the house 90 degrees, we're able to get 49 feet, and that pushes it back to the existing septic system. So this is a 1564 West Shore Drive.
This is what the house looks like. I know it well. It's a neighbor. So it will be pushed back. It is a rebuild, correct, Ken?
Demo rebuild, new foundation.
Yeah. So we're getting quite a bit from them, moving that house.
Joyce,
Plenty on the sides. Yeah.
was there information in our packets on these three items?
Oh, you know what? Yours was left out. For some reason. I found yours on the table in the room.
No problem.
That was my fault. I put them in as, after I caught everybody. I didn't realize you picked yours up already.
No problem.
So I can hold that back up for you, Tom. But in generally, 26 changing to 49 and pushing it as far back as we can to the existing state-approved septic system.
So they have plenty of room on each side.
When was the septic system put in?
In the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I broke my chair. I gotta get a new chair.
Okay. We'll give her a minute to get a new chair.
All those quarantine pounds.
That's what the 19 stands for, you know.
That's better. Thank you.
You know, like freshman 15, COVID-19, that's what they stand for. Dennis, you're back?
Yes, I apologize.
No problem. Good to see you. We are looking at the Cronin house at 1564 West Shore Drive. It's the one that looks like this in your...
Yeah, I've looked it all over.
Okay, pretty straightforward. We're getting quite a bit, you know, moving it back from
26 to 49.
26 to 49 feet. It's as far back as it can go to the approved, you know, they've got a state-approved septic system.
Are there any retaining walls or any,
No.
No.
We require them to have them on the site plan ahead of time as a structure, especially the wing walls on the side.
Since it truly is a neighbor's house, I can tell you, they're out-of-staters. Their yard is what we probably would like a lot of yards to be, you know, very natural. There, you know, I don't think there's any concrete anywhere. It's, you know, if their lawn is green, it's because the weeds are green. You know, they're surrounded by pine trees, and it's very natural and very, very, very nice looking that way. You know, and Ken had asked for anything like that to be on the plan, and there's nothing. Yes, Jim?
This is a question for Ken. I am looking at the existing septic tank being from the building, proposed building to the leach field of 20 feet.
Yeah.
Would it be advantageous to us to move that septic tank to the side, cost-wise, to gain that extra 20 feet?
To gain an extra 20 feet?
If the septic tank wasn't there, you could move, if you moved the septic tank to the left of the leach field and went into the junction box at the front, you could move that house back another 15 feet at least. Do you see where I'm talking about, Ken?
Yeah, so one of the requirements or state guidelines is the septic system is one of the site factors that limit the relocation back. Once we have the minimum number, when they start digging, they'll have me call out, they'll call me out and I'll come out to the site and we'll take a look at it. More than likely, if you touch the tank, it's going to be junk and we'll have to, they'll have to put another one anyways in. And they're fairly aggressive about getting it as far back from the lake as practical. This contractor is, because it creates a larger front yard on the lakeside for the people. So that's usually one of the things I'll do once they start digging is we'll we'll see if we can get another 3 feet or 8 feet or 1 foot even, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like on the plan that already it's moving the tank, but that's not really true.
That's the existing, and on the septic design, the state requires the field has to go exactly where the plan is, but the tank's kind of a moving target. So once we start digging, we'll find that tank, and then we'll see if we can gain anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, I see what you're saying, the 10 feet between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the tank
49
actually
feet.
goes the other way. The tank is more laterally versus the parallel with the house. But once they start digging and we hit it, then we'll know. And they'll set it 8 feet from that tank.
Mhm. Good. Leslie?
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing as Jim. I mean, if you look at the original picture, the tank looks further away from the chamber on the original than it does on the proposed.
That's where they gained 10 feet.
All right. So they're moving the tank anyway.
It appears that way on the
So if they're
pictures.
moving the tank, why can't they move it to the side? You understand what I'm saying? So if the tank is already going to be moved,
He's showing 20 feet from the field, which is as close as you can get to the field. So the tank being there doesn't affect it.
so okay, all right, so you've
On
got,
the proposed side.
okay, all right, so that wouldn't matter then.
Yeah. And
Okay,
again, once we dig it up, we'll actually really find out what's there. It's all, we know where the system is, but we just don't know where the tank is.
so in essence, no matter where you put that tank, you still can't be closer than 20 foot to the leach field.
With a foundation with drainage.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right. All right. Any other questions on it? All right, this best practical location. This will have, yeah, go ahead. Dennis?
I'll make a motion that we approve the best practical location application for 1342 West Shore Drive, Matt, 121, lot 022.
I'll second that.
Okay, but I'd like the address to be 1564 West Shore Drive.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, 1564.
That's okay. And
Second,
that is with this, with all the vegetation, taken care of and a good revegetation plan
Yep. York County Water and
for
Soil.
county water and soil.
No closer than 49 feet?
No closer than 49 feet.
And drip trenches?
Sorry?
Drip trenches, all those good things?
Yeah, as
Yeah.
York County designs it.
Yeah.
Use gutters and downspouts into a plunge pool or something like that too as an alternative. So York County was fairly good working with the homeowners in there.
Okay.
So can you have that written as we want it? Since Brenda's not here and you're in the office, I hope you've written that motion down.
I've got it.
Thank you very much. Okay, can we have a second on the motion, please?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Leslie. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. I'm sort of playing bingo with my screen here. Let's see. So Jim Crowley.
Yes.
Okay. Yoli.
Yes.
Dennis.
Yes.
Leslie.
Yes.
And the chair votes in the affirmative. Motion passes on this.
The other one we have is Longley, which is 12122, map 121, lot 22, 1342 West Shore Drive. Next phase, we're going to get documents on this, so I don't have to hold it up. As you guys can see, that's the 100-foot line was mapped out on there. So most of the houses out of the 100-foot line already, and they're looking at reusing the existing poured concrete foundation. So that would be the factor to leave the house in the existing location. That, and we're teetering 85% of the houses already in the 100-foot zone. That would leave the deck within the 100 feet, really.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
may I be excused?
yes,
Thank you.
Have a good night, Tom.
Next meeting is the 11th, right?
Yep.
6:30, same technique.
yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Tom.
Okay, questions on this one, guys?
So this blue line is the 100-foot line, is that right?
The blue box, it would be the building envelope, which would be the 100-foot line, the side setbacks, and 50 feet from the center of the road.
Okay.
Even if they were demoing and getting rid of the foundation, we're still about 20 feet from the existing septic that's out there. But this is a proposed septic on this one. They do have a state-approved one, but they want to get rid of it and relocate it.
The garage is staying, right?
The garage is staying.
Garage, yeah, it's a separate building.
This, we did a site walk on this property 5 years ago or so, maybe. There's a second camp right down on the water. I think it maybe even over the water that they were going to redo and relocate, and the prior owners actually never did. If you remember, there was a steep paved driveway that went around the house, and it was quite the billy goat trail.
It's sort of a death-defying walk if you take that driveway down to the older cabin. You know, it's I wouldn't want to do it.
What is the concrete pad about?
What is the concrete pad about? Parking.
I'm not sure on that one. I think that's, it's kind of a little sidewalk thing that goes and just.
I think they used to actually park a car there at one point.
Get out of the car and walk on the sidewalk.
If they had groceries or things like that. For the sake of being transparent, the last house we saw was 6 houses north of me. This house is 6 houses south of me. So
is there a driveway actually over the septic? Is that what's going on? It's hard to kind of pick all this apart.
Yes.
well, that can the driveway that goes to the garage, that's, I'm trying to remember.
So the proposed septic system is a concrete chamber system with a H20 loading, which you're able to drive vehicles over.
Yeah.
I'd say the driveway is some of the only flat area on the property.
Okay. And are they demoing and rebuilding in the same spot?
Yes, they're going to demo. It's a toss-up on how much demo they're going to do. They're going to do more than 50%, And as you take it apart, I think that snowball is going to roll and they're going to demo everything except for the foundation. If the foundation they get into it and see issues, then they'll have to come back and go through the board because the foundation's been removed as well. But currently it would just be sounds like the roof's coming off and the 4 walls, leaving the first floor framing and the existing foundation.
Okay. So there's really nowhere to move it.
No, not really. And they're
No.
reusing the existing foundation, which is in good shape.
Okay. So what about the deck? Is there any, what is the deck like?
The deck, they had talked about trying to cut it and move it a little while it's under construction, and then just bolt it back onto the house.
Okay. So it's salvageable?
Yeah, it's it's better than the house.
Okay.
It's a 1970s house. It's the typical relocation that we see. A lot of times we look and we just can't believe somebody's putting it in a dumpster. Similar to the last one. The last one's much older, but they just did a lot of renovation not too long ago, and it's really in pretty good shape. But so this one would remain in the same location.
Yeah, Dennis? Dennis?
I'll make a motion to approve the best practical location application for 1342 West Shore Drive, map 121, lot 22.
I'll second.
Discussion? Any more?
I think Jim had his hand up.
Sorry, Jim.
That's all right, dear. The existing deck that is remaining is what is there on the drawing, is that correct?
Yeah.
So there would be no 30% addition onto this project at all?
I think if you're standing on the road looking at the lake side, if they were to do an expansion, it's outside of the 100-foot, so the 30% would not apply to it.
Okay, thank you.
So I think one of the first things was they needed the answer for, is the town going to allow me to rebuild on my existing foundation?
What type of a foundation is it, Ken?
Poured concrete. When we were out there the other day, I couldn't see any cracks or defects in it.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone with anything else? Hearing no further discussion. Jim, you made, no. Dennis, you made the motion?
Yeah.
And who seconded, please?
I did.
Thank you, Leslie. So, and this goes with the standard verbiage, please, Ken, of
York County Water and Soil
York County
Plan.
Water and Soil, vegetation, revegetation. And we'll have all of that. We'll take a vote. Going the opposite direction. Leslie?
Yes.
Jim Crowley?
Yes.
Dennis?
Yes.
Yoli?
Yes.
Chair votes in the affirmative. Okay, we will take care of getting that out. I'll stop in the office and sign some things. We'll be in touch with them. And we'll go from there. Now, is there anything from the board? Dennis, yes.
The using this Zoom meeting
Yes?
when it comes to the planning board, as I went through this with the Warrant and Finance Committee, there's a big difference between holding meetings like this with the planning board and applicants than it is with 2 or 3 people on the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator. There's a huge amount of paperwork. There's maps. There's different things that these Zoom meetings do not work for the planning board. And under the governor's new direction, there's absolutely no reason that the planning board can't meet at the town hall. This is my last week having a computer. I have to turn Molly's back into the superintendent Monday. This is probably one of the, as far as technology, one of the better meetings we've had when it comes to Zoom. But it just doesn't work. There's just too much to deal with. And I would respectfully ask the chair to contact the chairman of the Board of Selectmen and allow us to start meetings, if nothing else, upstairs at the town hall.
Thank you. Leslie?
Yes, in my perusing today, I did find that a neighboring town is holding public meetings in person. So other towns have now started holding their meetings off Zoom and in the normal way.
Other towns, I understand.
No, I'm just, just to let the board know that.
Right.
That's something that can be done where you're not prohibited from holding meetings other than the selectmen say no.
Okay, thank you. Jim Crowley?
Yes, Madam Chairman. I'm against having Zoom meetings for a number of reasons. The most important one is I am not a computer person, and I do not own a computer. I have to go borrow a computer, have somebody show me how to run it, and this makes things very difficult to process. The information is hard to process. Having somebody in front of you is a lot better than having them on a screen. I think that Governor Mills has made the ruling that we could have meetings up to 50 people. I don't see why we can't go back to our regular process and abide by those standards that she has put out there. And that's basically how I feel about it. I know Tom Cashin, he is also not a computer person. He has to go visit somebody to get on a computer to have these meetings. So it puts us at a very large disadvantage not being able to utilize a computer because we don't know how to run a computer. So
I will say, before this goes on, I think we're all singing the same song. As you asked, I will be in touch with the chairman of the BOS. It is very difficult for us, and when it comes right down to us, we are a board of 5 with 2 alternates, 7 people. Only 3 of us actually have computers and know how to use them. Yoli, Leslie, and myself. Dennis is using the school computer. Jim, you're on a borrowed one. Gavin does not have one, period. And Tom has to go to a friend's house. It's really not the way to do things. We are in a time that's a little bit different. We have to do what we have to do right now. And we all have to try to do 100%. That doesn't mean I won't ask and I won't advocate for us to be allowed to move forward into a building. I think that's going to happen soon anyway. But one of the things that happens, not only in Zoom meetings, which I know you can tell by now, I'm uncomfortable with them, but in any meeting, and I should have said this earlier, when I was asking you, about freedom of information and things like that. Everything we do is recorded. And when we're sitting at a table talking and discussing and moving things around, should we move this from there or there from here, it's concrete. Okay, our land use secretary can look at that meeting and go through her minutes, go through the minutes and write everything, and we all approve those. Unfortunately, sometimes people who are watching either on Acton TV or a Zoom meeting, they don't necessarily, through no fault, but they don't get all information correct. And pretty soon, there's erroneous information floating around outside. So particularly for these meetings, but anything, I would suggest that if people want to know what we're doing, how we're doing it, what our votes are, to make sure they go to a recorded meeting, which are online, watch us live, or go to our site and read the minutes of the meeting. Because, one thing's going to complicate another. And that's probably my biggest reason for not particularly liking Zoom meetings. They're too fractured. But I will do as you ask. I will go to the board of the chairman of the board and see what I can do. We can only ask. Yes, sir.
I'll agree with you 100% that it's a pain in the ass. But we've been able to now, this meeting went much better than it could have. It really went fairly smoothly. We got a lot of stuff done. We're able to keep these projects moving, which is awesome too. The 50 people, I think if we lay that room out for a 12-foot corridor down the side and space our chairs out 6 feet, we're probably 25 to 30 maybe. Subtract 10 from the board, so we're at 20 people in the room maybe. We're going to get an overflow for Grammy Rose and Young's Ridge. We're going to have too many people for that to work in our facility as it is. So I think the solar would be okay on that, but I'm just not sure if we go away from Zoom, how we do some Zoom and some not. Like you say, but we're seeing thousands of people gather in the streets together, so we'll just wait to see if there's a uptick in cases.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I will bring forward to the chairman is I do watch every day Dr. Shaw, the CDC main medical person, and while in fact they have their committee or the people who are necessary in one room, it is still a Zoom meeting. So you can have, 5 to 7 of us in a room with applicants and have them timed as they come forward. We can be in one room and we would be less than 10, and it can be still be a live Zoom meeting with the same capabilities, except the group would be in. It's something that has to be discussed. So bottom line, we got to do the best we can do with what we have right now.
And as I always say, it's uncharted waters, uncharted waters. I think if you have a board meeting, you don't allow me in that room personally, I think that could be an issue, but that's a legal issue.
Right. We have to just check it out. We'll ask. All we can do is ask questions. We'll ask the questions. Okay?
Can I just add a couple things?
Yeah, definitely.
Because tonight we had some a pretty simple subdivision And we looked at a subdivision that we were already pretty familiar with. And it was, you know, without having the maps down on the table and being able to really delineate like where the outer boundaries are. And, like we had the same discussion 3 times over, even on some of those best possible locations, which are pretty straightforward because it's so hard to be able to read a map together and follow along in the discussion and understand where everybody's pointing to and referring to, you know, when you're trying to hold up a piece of paper in a little square.
Well said, well said.
And also in terms of site walks, I mean, I don't know yet, or we don't know yet how well the drones are going to work in terms of giving us a good sense of what's going on. Luckily, the solar place is pretty much an open field, but like I can't imagine Grammy Rose how we could have done that through the trees with a drone. But wondering, do we need to get permission even to do site walks from the select board? Like, could we have scheduled a site walk for the Buzzell Road subdivision tonight without permission from the Board of Select?
You know, it's something we've never had to do before. New time, new place. All we can do is ask.
Mm-hmm.
We've never had to have a film crew with us. We have simply scheduled them. We have scheduled them short time so we can get people back in, you know, within a week. And we can only ask, and that's what we'll do. We'll ask. I appreciate everybody's effort and hard work that they're doing with this because it is difficult. It's very difficult to do. And for me to hold this up and say, yeah, see, it's the green square in the middle. Man, maybe that was, you know, would have been high tech in 1975, but it sure is not high tech now. So.
That's when you had the overhead projector in 1975 to project up over.
Oh.
Here's the way, and we'll work on it if we keep doing these Zooms to get the documents loaded and have the documents working up there. I think it went really great for our first meeting. I understand I hate computers and I don't want to get sucked into the computer age thing, and I don't own a computer. Like you say, that's 65%, 75% of our board. So I think we all want to get into a room and be able to touch the paper and sign the Mylars. So it's coming, hopefully.
You know, I think that's it. You know, keep the faith. It is coming. We just work together. Yes, Dennis.
I agree what you and Ken are saying about working together. And I think we've all worked very hard to make this work. And myself personally, for those of you know what my family's going through right now, it's very unfair to have these meetings anymore at my house. It is very unfair to my wife and my granddaughter and myself personally. I'll put it out there. And some people out there, it might make them happy, but this will be my last Zoom meeting from this house.
Understood. Understood.
If you can work it out, so I could go up and be in Ken's office or whatever with him to do it, I'm fine with that. But I'm not willing to put my family through this anymore.
Understood. Understood. Thank you. Okay, actually, it's not bad. We went a little longer for our first meeting. Kind of like old times. I'm glad we started early. Again, I'm going to say thank you, and I am going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Jim. Second? Dennis, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, Yoli.
Aye.
Leslie, bye. Yes? You want to adjourn? Okay, there she goes. Good night, everyone. Thank you very much.
Good night.